know from clinical practice that the definition of clinical death is a person who has no heartbeat and no breathing, and also whose brain stops functioning. And looking at what happens to a patient during cardiac arrest is that by definition they have the first two criteria, and that within a few seconds their brain also stops functioning. And therefore we have the closest model to study the dying process.
Cardiac arrest patients were therefore the perfect group to study. Brain expert and neuropsychiatrist Dr. Peter Fenwick teamed up with Dr. Parnier to endeavor to find out what happens to the brain during a near-death experience.
When you have a cardiac arrest, if you monitor brain waves or the electrical activity of the brain, you find that within 8 seconds it's almost absent. And it's absent throughout the brain, so you don't have little pockets of activity. So to all intents and purposes, once the heart has stopped, the brain ceases to function. Now we know from our neuroscience that you cannot have experience without a functioning brain. So once the brain function has stopped, then all experience must stop. If it doesn't stop for any reason, then you've made a very strong statement, and that is that mind and brain are not the same.
Dr. Susan Blackmore believes that the near-death experience is a product of the brain, so cannot be happening when the brain is not functioning. But Dr. Sam Parnier and Peter Fenwick are not convinced. With their research into cardiac arrest patients, they are trying to define when the experience occurs. Could it be happening at the point consciousness is lost, or when we regain consciousness, or the unthinkable, that the near-death experience is happening when the brain is not functioning?
It's very difficult for us to say exactly when it's occurring, because any memory could be occurring in just an instant, and it's impossible for us to nail it down to an exact moment during a cardiac arrest when it occurred. But what will help us to nail it down is where people describe out-of-body experiences, where they describe specific events that had been occurring during the cardiac arrest, which were verified by the medical and nursing staff.
Well, we know a lot of what happens when the heart stops. And what happens is that the brain rhythms are normal for about 6 seconds, and then they rapidly decay, and you get a flat EEG. Now, flat EEG means that all those cortical structures which create our world for us are not working. So if it doesn't occur as you're going down, and if it doesn't occur while you're in the depth of the experience, because it can't in our science, then it has to occur as you're recovering. Now, if you deprive the brain of oxygen and you recover from it, then your thinking is all over the place. But the thing about the near-death experience is it's highly lucid, and it's very clear. So it can't be in the confusional arousal. But so when did it occur?